I don't just talk about other people's stuff, I also make my own. Books in particular. To date, I have 4 books you can check out on Amazon. Operation Red Dragon: The Daikaiju Wars Part 1, Occult Mafia, Emerald of Maddox City, and the short story collection Assorted Absurdities, Tales of Kaiju Punk and Other Genres. Hop on down to the description for Amazon links to all 4 books. Enjoy whichever ones you read, and enjoy the video. Hello ladies and gentlemen, I am the Omni viewer, and with the new Jurassic Park movie comes new Jurassic Park merchandise, especially when it comes to toys and collectibles. Now, most of the toys are aimed at kids, but Mattel does have a line for adult collectors, originally called the Amber Collection and now called the Hammond Collection. To see if this line is worth it, I'll be taking a look at their brand new Baryonyx figure. The Baryonyx comes in a very sturdy box that displays the classic T-Rex skeleton and the new logo for the Hammond Collection, which shows John Hammond's silhouette encased in a sphere of amber similar to the one on his iconic cane. On the back we get a full look at the figure's promo image, as well as a brief blurb about the scene she appears in. When opened, the Baryonyx is held securely in this plastic tray. As you can see, the tail is detached, so a little bit of assembly is required. I didn't get pictures of this as I was doing it, but you should know that the tail has to go in a very certain way. There's a notch on the barbell joint and an accompanying slot in the socket on the body that have to be lined up when you put it in, which means the tail actually goes in sideways. Once it's in, you just have to rotate it like 90 degrees until it's in the right position. That'll take a little finagling, but it's not too hard. Just do it until the patterns line up and you're set. With the figure assembled, I have to say, she looks great. Let's just set aside the scientific accuracy argument here. I know it's not a true match for the scientific model, but this isn't a museum replica we're talking about. It's a likeness of a movie creature, and it's a pretty good likeness at that. Despite how front-heavy she looks, the figure is perfectly balanced, and I haven't had any issues with it toppling forward while standing neutral, even on surfaces that aren't completely level. The back is painted a color that's somewhere between ocean blue and charcoal gray, and a line of light gray separates that from the sandy color of the sides. The light gray returns for the belly, and there's a tiny streak of metallic blue-green beneath the eyes. These are all flat paints, while glossy paints are used for the claws, teeth, and inside the mouth. I've scoured this figure while writing the script, and I'm hard-pressed to find any glaring asymmetry in the paint job. The pattern on the sides might have a few points where it doesn't line up on either side, but any such places must be minuscule at worst. The eyes are also precisely painted, which is surprising given how tiny they are, and there's no bleed on the claws or teeth. The only part where the paint doesn't look too good is the belly. There's no gradient between the light gray and the sandy tan, and there are certain parts where the paint seems to have missed certain creases, leaving unnatural lines. The result is that the belly looks painted rather than natural. Technically, this is the underside, which will rarely be seen clearly, so it's not a glaring issue. Still, it's a shame it couldn't have looked a bit better. Also, the dew claws on each foot aren't painted, which is odd, but whatever. Before moving on from the paint, let's refer back to that promo image. You may notice that this picture shows the Baryonyx with tiny light gray spots running down the side. The figure doesn't have these, though I did notice a few random spots on the body and tail. Again, they're easy to ignore, but I do find myself wondering what they're doing there. In terms of texturing, I have no complaints. Literally every inch of the figure is detailed, from the ribbed roof of the mouth to the individual rows of crocodilian scutes on the back. The various articulated joints are visible, but they have organic edges which add to the overall appearance. They do break the sculpt, but not in a way that feels obtrusive. Overall, this actually looks better than some of the static figures you might find in a museum gift shop. I think it's worth mentioning something about the head. It looks like the two halves of this part start to split where they envelop the neck. It doesn't look broken, mind you, nor does it look unfinished, but it is something I noticed. It's almost like it had to be like that to fit or something. This might just be an odd quirk on my specific figure, but I don't know that for certain. The only place where the organic texture is deliberately broken can be found on the bottom of the right foot. Unlike the left foot, it's stamped with the Jurassic Park T-Rex skeleton that's been around since the book was first published. Part of me wishes they had done the classic JP mark somewhere, but that's just my nostalgia talking. Now we get into articulation, which is one of the big selling points for this line. There are 17 joints on the figure, and all but the headpieces have an amazing range of motion. By that I mean the jaw can open fairly wide and even lock in place, but it can't do much more than that. Everything else, though, you can go crazy with, as they can all bend and rotate. All of them. The bending has its limits due to how everything fits together, but the rotating is uninhibited. Now, the first time I was messing around with it, I accidentally popped both arms out of their sockets by hyperextending them upward. If that happens to you, don't panic, they'll pop right back in, but I would recommend not doing it on purpose unless you want the thing to break. As for the tail, it's a bendable portion with a wire, so it can pose any number of ways. Obviously, it's got limits thanks to the thickness, but it still provides some good variety of movement. The Baryonyx is pretty good at holding poses too, as the joints are loose enough to move but tight enough to stay in place. If you want a walking pose, you'll have to do some experimenting to get the feet just right, but it can be done. Final verdict? The figure has a few imperfections, but they're minuscule compared to what it gets right. I don't know how many of you out there like the Baryonyx, either in the movie or just as a dinosaur, but if you do like a Baryonyx, this figure might be worth it. I don't regret it, but I mean, it's your choice. Until such time as we meet again, this is the Omni Viewer signing off. Actually, the right arm is a little bit looser than the other joints, but that might just be on the figure I got. I always seem to get weird ones like that. Congratulations, you reached the end. If you enjoyed this video, you might want to consider supporting us on Patreon. Of course, the other way to support us is to go to Amazon and check out our books, Operation Red Dragon, The Daikaiju Wars Part 1, The Occult Mafia, Emerald of Maddox City, and Assorted Absurdities, Tales of Kaiju Punk and Other Genres. Also check the description for links to DeviantArt and other platforms we operate. Thank you all for watching. We'll see you next time.